Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Today's program is going to be an unusual program. I'm going to be talking about this conference that Trump just had. It was an hour and 15 minutes long, considering the Bible prophecies and what is going on. Now, let me just start right up front. I like Trump. I voted for him. I'd vote for him again. As a matter of fact, I voted for him every time he's on the ballot. I think he is the best president of my lifetime and possibly in many, many years. I think that he is probably the first president since Thomas Jefferson that the conspiracy is not controlling. Wait a minute, what about Reagan? Okay, well, Reagan was told, I heard, that he had to have Bush as his vice president, and if he didn't, then they would, through the media and what things, they would remove him from office. So, to a certain degree, even Reagan was controlled. Reagan did not have the attacks that President Trump has had. So, the attacks tells me he is not on their side. And so, I'm going to say this, that the war between light and darkness has now started. And I think it has started. Again, I'm giving you my opinion today. I think it has started like we have never seen in our lifetimes, any of us. I don't care if you're 90 years old. You've not seen the kind of war that is about to start. I think that President Trump, and I'm going to call him President Trump, defeating Biden, which defeated Moloch and Baal, is the greatest victory or the greatest defeat the devil has had since the Pharaoh's army was drowned in the Red Sea. In other words, I think the devil is angry beyond belief. I think he is going to retaliate like he has never retaliated probably since the Red Sea. But I also want to say I love watching Trump. I love listening to him. I love what he says. He encourages me. And frankly, that's kind of hard to do. But he encourages me. And I hope a lot, all of what he says comes to pass. I hope we are moving into a golden age. I want to think positive. I want to think the best. But at the same time, I know the prophecies, so I'm going to try to bring today another point of view, a point of view from someone that teaches Bible prophecy. Okay, so 20 billion foreign investment is my first note that I wanted to cover about his talk. So he's bringing in investment, and this is just the one that he's talking about. There's probably more. He's doing everything he can to try to build up America. I believe that. Whereas on the other hand, Biden, I can't call him a traitor. First of all, I think that might get me in trouble if I did. But I like what Trump says about him. He says either they're stupid, I'm going to give the quote here in just a minute, or they hate our country. Who would leave $85 billion of the best quality military equipment in Afghanistan, which is going to be turned over into the hands of our enemy, so that they can reverse engineer our tanks, our night vision glasses, so they can reverse engineer and use the best equipment that we had against us? Who would do that? Who would shut off our energy supplies on day one? And of course, Biden did that. Billions, I understand from the talk, are being sent to the Taliban in Afghanistan monthly. He said not millions. Trump said billions of dollars. Who would do that? Obviously, a communist. And I think I can say that because that's what the angel said to Dmitry, started by the communists. So that would mean that Biden and the people behind him are communists. We know them as even worse, Moloch and Baal worshippers. And he went on to say that Biden broke the agreement with NATO. And America had made an agreement, we've talked about this in prior programs, that NATO had made an agreement with Russia that they were not going to move 1 inch further toward Russia. And we have done that in several areas. In other words, we, America, have been the one that has broken our agreements. We are the one, just like the prophecy said to Dmitry, that the Russian bear would grow angry. And right now, the Russian bear is furious. Let's go on. Also, 625 million acres of offshore drilling is prohibited, which is basically shutting down 40 to 50 trillion dollars in assets removed from America. Who would do that? Who would stop us from finding more oil? Again, a communist or a Moloch ball worshiper. Somebody that wants to put the Antichrist, see, only a prophecy student's going to understand this. Somebody that wants to put the Antichrist on the throne. And that means removing all other presidents and kings from around the world and putting their man in charge. That's their ultimate goal. We have to look at it through that. Also, he wants to remove all gas furnaces and make them electric. Why? Not just that they're inefficient, but because if it's electric, with the push of a button, he can turn them all off. It's another way to control us. What about all cars must be electric by 2030? That's the current law. Trump says he's going to change it, praise God. Well, once again, if you can control electricity, which is a lot easier to control than petroleum. So that gives them control to shut down everything. If you can turn off the electricity and if it turns off everything, then you will do as you are told, sheeple, or we will cut off your power. Water restricted faucets, water restricted showers. I had, this is, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. I called a repairman out and I said, look, our clothes are coming out and they still stink. It's not getting them clean. It's not putting enough water in to wash the clothes. And I said, I want you to tell the washing machine to put more water in there. He said, I can't. I said, okay, then tell me what washing machine to buy that'll put more water in to wash the clothes clean. He said, there isn't any. I said, what? He said, because of regulations, they limit the amount of water that can go in to wash your clothes. Why? Why would they want to do that? It's part of bringing down the Christian nation, part of putting their man, the Antichrist, on the throne. He also wants to, and I have to say, I mean, I love this talk, but I don't think I've ever heard a president talk like this in my lifetime. And there were several times when I promise my mouth fell open. There were several times Leslie was walking through the room listening in the background, and several times I went, wow, really? Wow. He's going to change. He didn't say he's thinking about it. He says he's going to change the name from Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. And that's only some of the smaller things he's about to do. We're about to cover it. If you have not watched it, I watched it twice. I would recommend you go and watch 1/7/2025, the Trump rally. He also says, now, let me just say, I know that there's a guy named Bobby that gets offended every time I say the word hell. Okay, so Bobby, don't email me again. I'm quoting the President of the United States here, okay? And that's, do you have to say the word hell? Yes, because it is part of the communications here. No, I don't normally talk like this. He says, if hostages are not released, this is word for word, by January 20th, all hell will break out in the Middle East. October 7th attack should have never happened. When he said that, I thought, man, Hamas, we're about to find out just how much clout Trump really has. I know that when Reagan came in, the day he came into inauguration, all of the Iranian hostages were released immediately. And Trump is expecting the same thing to happen in the Middle East. Well, if that doesn't happen, that's going to tell us that the Hamas and the Taliban and all of the other Islamists, I think is the way they call them, are not respecting him, and they're looking for war, and that's exactly what they're about to get. And if they were to call and ask me, and they probably won't, I'd say, you better let the hostages go because it's about to get really tough for you. Also, he talked about the Panama Canal. 38,000 American lives given, and then Jimmy Carter gave it away for $1. I'm shocked. It was actually built for the U.S. military. Now it needs $3 billion in repairs, and they're asking America to fix it for them. But it was built for the military, and Trump is saying use of American military to take it back is not ruled out. He says that it is controlled, both the entrance and the exit is controlled now by China. Now, what's that meaning? That is the strongest threat, the strongest military threat. Matter of fact, this whole press conference today was full of threats, military threats, tariff threats, like I've never seen an American president make. I'd like to think that God would give us the victory in all of this, but with so many sins on our nation, and in all of this election, putting Trump in office, we have not seen the churches fill up. We have not seen sports stadiums full of people repenting. This has brought no change in the spiritual sin of America. 38,000 lives he gives away for $1. Is really built for the military, and now they're not saying that he will rule out military use to take over again. He says that Panama is overcharging U.S. and that China controls it. Now it gets even more shocking. Canada, quote, he says, we're protecting Canada, unquote, and Canada can't exist without the U.S. This is summarized. They should become a state of the U.S. We don't need their cars, their milk, or, my mistake there, or their trees. He said, we don't need it. We don't even think anything from Canada. He's basically saying they need us. And again, I'm shocked. I am absolutely shocked to hear this. And I'm shocked to find out that he's very serious. He is not kidding. I think the devil is screaming mad like he has probably not been in maybe over 1,000 years, maybe further back than that. There's not been anything that has angered him. Now remember, when Adam and Eve ate of the fruit, they lost ownership and control of the earth. Remember in Job where God called a meeting, and it said that Lucifer also showed up. And God said, where have you been? He said, been walking to and fro and up and down on the earth. Those are ownership words. So he owns the earth and is in control of the earth until the angel says, I heard great voices in heaven. Now has come salvation and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ, for the accuse of our brethren has been cast down. So until Jesus takes over in the kingdoms of this world or the kingdoms of our Lord and his Christ, until that happens, Lucifer's in charge. I'm not totally convinced that God is going to allow that kind of a blessing to come to such a sinful nation. I want it. I'd like to see it. Matter of fact, we ought to get everybody joining Fast Gap at prophecyclub.com. Slide all the way to the bottom. If you want to fast and pray for this nation with your other brothers and sisters, we do the same fast, same prayer, same day. If you really want to make changes, if you want to be a part of the solution, not part of the problem, go to Prophecy Club, got to slide down to the bottom and join Fast Gap and Fast Track for those people who want to fast and pray for Prophecy Club. Let's go on. Also, he said AI. Now, that's what they call artificial intelligence. I believe it is alien intelligence. But he says it's going to start needing a lot of electricity. He says that is the way of the future. That's right. So that no man might buy or sell save he had the mark and the name of the beast or the number of his name. We are very close to a digital currency. That means very close to the mark of the beast. It could happen. I'm not setting a date. It could happen in the next year or two. Matter of fact, I'll be surprised if it has not happened in 3 or 4 years. Then, Bill says nuclear is the cheapest. Who's the Bill? The Bill is the guy that goes to our church, and he works in nuclear power plants. And he told me that nuclear is the cheapest, safest, and most efficient way to generate electricity, bar none. It beats wind, it beats coal, it beats natural gas, and that's the way we should do it. We should start. Matter of fact, he also said that they can build new nuclear generation plants today that use the old spent, so they said, spent nuclear waste that they've been burying in concrete bunkers, they can pull that up and use that now to power electrical stations because they found out how to do it. They're more advanced now. So there won't be any, was it 3 Mile Island? Won't be any more of those. There won't be any more Fukushimas. That is, unless it's a terrorist event or something like that. Let's go on. Also, Trump says he wants to build more electrical generation stations, but build them along with the manufacturing plants. And the manufacturing plants are saying that's a great idea. And he says you'll be able to sell the electricity back to the grid. That's a great idea. Now let's talk about NATO. He said that NATO would not exist if Trump had not required payment from the NATO nations. And he says rather than 2%, it should be 5%. See, everything Trump is doing, and this is the standpoint of a prophecy teacher here, everything he's doing, he's trying to not only help America, but help the rest of the world. Wait a minute. Putting tariffs on and Canada and Europe and Mexico, that's helping them? Yes, because it's helping them to start pulling their own weight. It's leveling the playing field so everybody gets to play the game with the same rules, the same level field, and the people that should be winning the game are the ones that win the game. It's kind of like, I guess we've all seen a time where a referee and the call that the referee made changed the outcome of a game. Well, the tariffs level the playing field. Let's go on. January 6th, he talked about that, and he said some 24 to 28 FBI were in the crowd. We've been suspecting that. Some people have been saying that, but when he says it, that gives a lot more credibility. Then he goes on to say, we have to find out about that. Now, I take that as there's about to be some arrests. And my guess is some of them are going to be in some of those 3-letter organizations. I'll say it that way. I got to watch what I say here. He says the FBI has lost credibility. And he said in all of the January 6th people, not one gun was found, meaning they didn't go there to take over the government. It was not an insurrection, according to what he said. Quote, he says that the FBI knows who the bomber is. The FBI reputation has been so horribly hurt, unquote. Then he pulled a guy named Steve, and I couldn't detect what the last name was, but he says they're making a lot of progress in the Middle East. Then he started talking about Greenland. He says there's 45,000 people there. Quote, this is what he said, not sure Denmark has the right, title, or interest to Greenland. And they should give it up for security reasons. The people are probably going to vote to come into the United States. And, this is still a quote, if Denmark refuses, I will tariff them at a very high level. Okay, what just happened here? He just said he is going to make Greenland another state, and he just said he's probably going to make Canada a state. Wow. I didn't see that coming. And I do not have any prophecies saying that's coming. That's big. Let's go on. Then he talked about Mexico. He says Mexico's run by the cartels. Yeah, well, we suspect that, but when he says it, that's big. And he says big changes are coming. And he says they're about to experience, both Canada and Mexico are about to, and your EU are about to experience serious, substantial tariffs. Now, China has already put big tariffs on our military companies. Well, it won't hurt us if we have some other place to get those needed precious metals. So we will see. Or maybe I forget what you call them, but anyway, let's go on. Then he talked about a golden age. And again, I'm encouraged by this. I hope he can do all this. But that's not what the prophecies say. The prophecies say suitcase nukes. The prophecies say some of the people start fighting against the government. He is doing his best, I believe he is, trying to bring in a golden age. But big problems. So he says that we have more natural resources than Canada or Mexico or any other nation in the world. He also talked about wind generators. He says they die and they're eyesores. I just went to see my family over the Christmas holidays up in Kansas. So I drove from the DFW area up to Kansas and back, and guess what I saw? I saw a lot of windmills. Actually, wind generators would be the correct word. And most of those were working, but I saw probably, I'll say 5% of them that were not working. So they need to pass a law, say if it's up, it's got to be working. And if it's not working, it's got to be down, and he says we got to figure this out. He says that they can't bury the things, so big problem there. Then he went into talking about how they're selling our border wall that we paid top dollar to have made. He explained that the outside is very high quality steel. In the center is 7,000 pound concrete, what they use for the foundations of skyscrapers. And then inside of that is rebar. Now, why is that important to know? Well, because if you come up to the metal outside and you pulled out your handy dandy hacksaw, that's fine. Hacksaw cuts steel, but concrete, especially hard concrete, chews up the teeth. Now you can't get through the concrete. So then if you pull up the device to cut the concrete, it's not so good on cutting the steel, especially the rebar. So cutting through those things is not impossible, but it's very, very difficult. Okay, anyway. So selling the border wall, they're selling the border wall for a nickel on a dollar, and they're offering to sell it back to the United States for 2,000 pennies on the dollar. In other words, double what we paid for it. He says these people are either hate our country or they are stupid, and I don't believe they're stupid, because if they were stupid, and I'll add the extra there. So, what are we talking about here? We're talking about, I think that the good guys are trying to do good, but I don't think they understand the power, authority, and strength of the bad guys. And I think that we are probably looking at some good times coming. And frankly, I look forward to that. I'd like to think that none of this bad stuff comes. I'd like to think that we could get to heaven and say, hey, whatever happened to that Dimitri prophecy, whatever happened to Revelation 18, I'd like to hear God say, because they repented. I don't think that's coming, but that's what I like to think. I'd like to think that there is a new golden age on the way, but I think we're still looking at, I do not know, this is not thus saith the Lord. God has not told me they're coming this year. But I believe when he said massive arrest, in an audible voice to me as I was awaking from a nap, I believe that's confirmation that they are coming, that the arrests are coming, the suitcase nukes are coming. And then when I heard medical, that's further confirmation. To me, that's saying suitcase nukes, okay? And then we're talking about, I just read it yesterday, one of Coverstone's dreams fits perfectly with the New Madrid fault happening. If one of these things in the prophecies start happening this year, that means probably it's going to be like dominoes, and the next things are going to happen too. I can't guarantee that 2025 is the year for this, but it's getting close. In 2021, I started making bread, and long story short is I believe God showed me that wheat is God's famine food, just like it was famine food back in the 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine, days of Pharaoh and Joseph. And I believe that that's what God has planned to feed his people. And you get it by going to josephskitchen.com. 3 steps. First, you want to get a machine package. Second, you want to order 6 ingredients and watch some videos, download the recipes to be able to make the bread. josephskitchen.com. Most of your longtime storage food, emergency food, all of that. Typically, we're talking $9,000, $10,000 to feed one person for a year. Joseph Kitchen can show you how to do it for around $1,000 a person, and your kids will actually eat it, and it's actually good for you. Here's some bread that I made. In my case, I lost weight, lowered my blood pressure, gives me more energy. I eat a morning, slice in the morning, slice in the afternoon. Always a slice before I go play racquetball. Go check it out, josephskitchen.com. If you don't want to lose your life's savings, if you have an IRA or a 401k, the thing to do is call 800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. These folks are Christians, and they specialize in helping people not lose their life savings in the event of a stock market crash and things like that. Look, most of the 401ks, most of the IRAs are in paper, backed by paper, and as Lindsey Williams says, if it's in paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You can lose it all. 1-800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. Hey, give them a call. Doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything. See if they can give you some good advice. As you recall, this past Saturday, November the 9th, the Lord spoke to me 2 words screaming at me loud like a trumpet. Medical, medical. I take that to mean that not only myself, but also those that follow Prophecy Club, in addition to all of the other preparations we've made, we need to start making medical preparations. And I put that out, and I was deluged with emails sending me to this place. This is the place that all of you seem to like when it comes to medical supplies. So I called them, hooked up, and I've arranged to get you a 5% discount when you use the promo code PROPHECY. Promo code PROPHECY, 5% discount, and it's refugemedical.com. refugemedical.com. And as you can see, they have all kinds of, here's one of the main things you need to get. It's called a burn bucket. This tells you all about it. They also have a business bundle, a home bundle. I think everybody ought to have at least a home bundle. They also have vehicle bundles, church bundles. So they already put this stuff together, and this is not foreign-made stuff. This is all American-made, and it's by a Christian company. And you go to refugemedical.com. refugemedical.com. When the suitcase nukes, I didn't say if, I said when the suitcase nukes go off, if you want your car to start, if you want your computers and your refrigerators and things like that, anything with a computer chip to work, you want to have one of these from EMPShield.com. EMPShield.com. And they have videos up there. It takes about 10 minutes to put on. It's not complicated at all. And if you use the word prophecy, promo code prophecy, you get a $50 discount, and it helps Prophecy Club.